screen. Of course, there we are. Oh my gosh, let me figure this out here. We'll get this going here in a second. Yeah, I'm an old guy. I'm getting used to this as we go. Bedlam over the weekend. Yeah, I took a couple of days off to recover from that. We had a great time. And before we get started, though, I want to let you know about our great sponsors. We just started like a month and a half ago, right? Kind of during the beginning of football season. So getting going, got a lot of competition, great competition. Man, I watch a lot of college football shows leading into this show. And I kind of like going in the afternoon. We can get good topics that, see what works on other people's shows and see some guys like maybe 6 or 7 viewers that are great. See some guys that are getting like 5,000, 6,000 viewers that are, they're kind of stale. I want to let you know first, Karen Johnson taking care of us at Insignia. And you can get hold of her. If you go to our Twitter page at G Swaim, or you go to our Facebook page, you'll find out all about Karen. Great prices. Want to let you youth sports teams know, high school, junior high, whatever, college teams even. I mean, if you don't have a deal with Nike or Adidas or Under Armour, you need to go to Karen. She will take care of you, get you the best uniforms. I'm going to tell you a little story. Karen got an email the other day from one of the people off of our Facebook that played our tournaments, and they've got 8, 9, 10 teams, something like that. But they're one of those teams that, they do it for the right reasons. They help the kids out, give them a mentorship, and they don't have a lot of money like a lot of teams, which is why our corporate sponsors helped us go to just $75 a tournament. That's right. Go to gregswaim.com/tournaments, but also get hold of Karen Johnson. She will take care of you. Does the great hats. T-shirts are coming in. All that stuff. We'll be selling those at our tournaments. So if you're at our tournaments, you can get those as well. We'll have everything online here pretty quick as well. And Scott Hammer, he's in Vegas right now, going over other great ways to help save you money, get you the best deal on cruises, vacations, anything like that. And, of course, you can follow Scott on Twitter and Facebook as well. We'll retweet his stuff, as well as Helping Hands, Ray of Sunshine. You know what? Those folks, what a deal. And we're going through this right now with my mom, and Paula, my wife, works for them for almost 3 years. They help folks that, mom and dad may not live in the same city as you, and so you can't help them every day. But they need, maybe they need a little help with their meds, make sure they remember to take them, make sure they don't fall when they're going to the bathroom or in the kitchen, need a little light housekeeping, some meals made. That's what they got to do to stay in their home and not have to go to assisted living. And that is the place to be. Helping Hands, Ray of Sunshine. We want to thank those sponsors as well as our corporates, DoorDash and Wendy's. Keeping me well fed. Can't see my belly. I'm not going to let you see my belly. When you get to be 61, you get a belly. Unless you're, how old's Mike Gundy? He's about 6 years younger than me, 55. That dude's pretty built. Pretty built for I would love to look like that guy, but I don't. He's probably looking a little bit better since he won Bedlam. Cowboys get the allergies killing me today. Cowboys get the final Bedlam win in great fashion. By the way, over 3 million viewers. Pretty incredible. Yeah, that'll stoke the fires of, hey, let's keep playing Bedlam when you get those kind of numbers. They could set up an exhibition game or something like that. And boy, that would be fun, wouldn't it? Can we keep the Big 12 refs though? Just kidding. Okay. I laugh a little bit because 99% of the responses I've got, look, I'm a 2-time Oklahoma State grad. I'm not like these other media guys that, I root for both teams. We cover both teams equally. No, you don't. We live in this state. Don't lie to us. Come on. And if you went to school at OU, hey, I got no problem with that. It's the bandwagon fans. It's not. Look, I've got 7 nieces and nephews that have either graduated from OU I think one of them's still in. He'll graduate and he'll go off to medical school. Smart. They're all smart. They're all great kids. And then I've got one that married my niece, and he graduated from OU in engineering. He's working at Tinker now. Love them all to death. And they're not the obnoxious OU fans that you run into at work. They're not. You know, do they root for OU? Oh, hell yeah. Do they want the Cowboys to win? Oh, no. And that's the way it should be. It's a rivalry. Jeez, some people like, oh, I root for both teams, except when my team plays somebody get them. Or no, it's hate week. It's over now. We can start mending fences and being friends again. I don't know about that, but yeah. And OU better worry about West Virginia, and OSU better worry about UCF, because those are not just going to be walks in the park, I don't think. We can break that down here as well. Cowboy basketball, hate to bring up a sore subject, but you got to take the bad with the good with the bad. Cowboy basketball sucks right now. I mean, it is as low as I've seen since probably the last year or two of Paul Hansen. Maybe even before that, which would have been before my time. We're talking the worst team potentially in 50 years. Now, are they young? Yeah, but we live in a new age where young doesn't matter. That can't be an excuse anymore. You know why? Because if you're a freshman and you're good, you're going to the NBA, right? And if you're not playing, guess where you're going to go? The portal. Mike, you can recruit. You can't coach away out of a wet paper sack. Sorry. It is what it is. Mike is a great guy, a great human being, a great Christian man, a great family man. Nothing wrong with the guy whatsoever. He can recruit. But, man, 7th year now, he's not going to go there. Everybody told me in OSU athletic administration this summer, yeah, pretty much he's been told it's NCAA or bust. Well, it's probably going to be bust. They got beat by Abilene Christian. Abilene freaking Christian. Jeez. That should never happen at home. I thought, and let's see, he was here from what, 91 to 2005, 2006. So he's here like roughly 15, 16 years. I think he lost one non-conference game at home to a non-high major, right? A mid-major. Abilene Christian would be considered a low major. They don't like to call them that because it hurts their feelings, but they would be pretty low down there. Yes, they beat Texas a couple years ago in the NCAA tournament, but that's her claim to fame. I know this because my mother graduated from Abilene Christian, so she's a West Texas girl. And yeah, not that they're a bad team. They're not. They're you know, for their level, but let's be real honest here. You give me 13 guys, let's see, 26 guys playing pickup ball, and I'm scouting them, right? And I get the first 13, not the first pick, the first 13 picks. And the other guy gets the 13 guys I didn't take, which is what you got when you got Abilene Christian, Oklahoma State, right? Or should. You should have 13 guys that they couldn't get, and they should have 13 guys that you wouldn't want. And you get beat. Not only got beat, you got beat at home. And you were down by double digits most of the second half. You got McDonald's All-Americans on the team. I mean, against guys that eat at McDonald's, and their post guys 6'5". Come on. Come on. Listen, they play Sam Houston Sunday at 2 o'clock at Galgrima. And if they get beat by Sam Houston State, and you consider yourself an Oklahoma State basketball fan, if you're not calling for a firing, holy smokes. And I'm sorry, folks, my nose, post-nasal drip or whatever they call it, man, I am having a hard time today. But I'm a trooper. I'm going to have a show. Okay. Jim Harbaugh, what do you think? Should Michigan be banned from playing in the Big 10 championship? Should Michigan be banned from the NCAA playoffs, college football playoffs? What do you think? We're going to get to the comments. Let's get to those. Neil says, go get Kyle Keller. Yeah, I had Kyle on the radio show last year, and I can't remember exactly what we talked about. Neil says, "Go Pokes." Thank you, Neil. You can jump on the chat line too. We didn't mention that. Please do. If you get an extraordinarily great chat, guess what I'll do? I will. See, I start pushing buttons. Yikes! Anything could possibly happen. But yeah, appreciate that, Neil. You got a great thought. You want to argue with me? You're a Sooner fan that wants to say OSU sucks. I don't care about that. What I do care about is if you talk about my family. You talk about my family, we may have some words here. Let's see. I'm trying to figure this out. Okay. Can you see me? Okay. I don't. How can I put this? We had some folks. I'm going to tell you, there's no way they were OU graduates. These people couldn't have graduated Gundy Junior College. Couldn't have. And saying stuff about my family, and we're not talking about your mama kind of stuff. We're talking about, your wife or your sons or your daughters or your grandkids or whatever. You start talking about them, I'll hunt you down. If I could find, what I did was forward it on to Facebook and X mods, which I don't like to be a tattletale. That's a threat. That's, you got to take that stuff kind of seriously. So, wow. Like, holy smokes. Are you kidding? You're coming after my family because we disagree on a call? Interference, it could have been called. The reason it wasn't called, and I've gone over this ad nauseum, and we have a picture like, well, you can't tell. Well, here's a picture of his foot inbounds. Well, most of them he was inbounds. It just takes one split second for his heel to touch the out of bounds line. Well, he was grabbed and pulled out of bounds, and he was after that. And you see the arms, the defender's arms are coming around little stoops when his foot is on the out of bounds line. I don't ever want to argue about it. I quit arguing about it on Monday, and I felt like Michael Corleone, Godfather 3. I'm trying to get out, and they pull me back in again. I want to focus on UCF because, look, that's not going to be a walk in the park for the Cowboys either, right? I mean, I think there's a pretty good chance it won't be any kind of walk in the park. So, yeah, got to focus on that. We'll talk about that Thursday and Friday for sure. Friday, Mean Tweets Day. We're going to start making this a regular part of the show. I know I'm copying off Jimmy Kimmel a little bit. We can call it Mean X or whatever. You guys give me a good name. Instead of Mean Tweets, what should it be, right? What should it be? By the way, just got reminded of this from one of the interns. We are not only on YouTube today. I think we're on Facebook and Twitter, X. We're on both. I'll tell you how to get it there. We'll probably figure that out later. But for right now, you can get on both those. So all three of them. And we're going to be on Spotify. What are some of the other ones where you go? Apple, all that stuff. We're going to be on everything, okay? So if you listen to a podcast, and yeah, it won't be video in all of them, but you'll get the audio. You're driving down the road, and I know I listen. I haven't watched Paul Feinbaum in maybe once in a year. I don't watch any. I mean, I certainly don't watch Pat McAfee, as most of you know. I don't have anything against the guy. It's just not my cup of tea. Is it your cup of tea? It's just not mine for sure. I would imagine the younger you are, the better you like him because he's kind of a frat guy. Hey, bro, here's a brewski, which is fine. And I would probably love that when I was like 18, but I'm 61. I don't, I feel like my kids don't even act like that. and they're a little rambunctious sometimes. So maybe my grandkids will like the guy. I don't. Not my shtick. It's just not. I don't like it. Okay, Bob Knight passed away. We talked about that last week. I'm going to have some Bob Knight stories. Matter of fact, we're going to play some stuff from interviews I've done over the years with Bob Knight. Funny guy when he wants to be. I think I told you this story. Some of you might not have heard it. I remember the first time I interviewed him was like a couple of days after he got the Tech job, after he'd been fired at Indiana the year before. And Pat Knight, his son, who played for him at IU, was at Toledo as an assistant. And he called me, he goes, Greg, hey, how are things in Toledo, Pat? He goes, well, you probably saw my dad got the job at Tech. And we need some help recruiting the state of Texas and Oklahoma and all that. Obviously, you're the guy, so we're calling you needing some help. Give me your top 10 juniors in the state of Texas. So I said, sure. He goes, and Dad said, hey, if there's anything, I can hear him in the background saying something. Hey, Dad said, if you need anything, just let us know. And I said, well, I only need one thing. He goes, you got it. What is it? I go, can he jump on my show on the Wednesday night? I had a Wednesday night college basketball show back then. He said, sure. So we got all the particular information, all that. And so Coach Knight calls in. We get him on. My first question to him was, okay, Coach, you've been there a little bit now. In Lubbock, how are things different from Lubbock, Texas to Bloomington, Indiana? He goes, well, we went hunting over the weekend, first time down here. And I had to change the choke of my shotgun because the birds are bigger, tougher, and stronger. I thought that was kind of funny. I don't know if you do or not, but at the time I did. And I'm talking to one of the greatest coaches, if not the greatest coach of all time. Yes, he had his demons. Most of them do. Some of them are better hidden than others, like Mike Krzyzewski's. But we're talking a little bit. Next day, Coach Sutton used to not only let me come to practice, but he would let me bring my boys. And I thought, wow, they want to play junior high, high school, college basketball someday. What a better place to go than any set practice, right? Gets to know the players after practice. Sometimes some of the players have had the energy left, which is not often because Eddie really wore them out. But some of the managers, including, I hate to bring up a sore subject, but Pat Noyes and Jared Weiberg, who were managers at the time, who had both grown up playing in my events, they would put the goals down to like 6 foot, and they would get on their knees and they would guard my boys who were little. I mean, they were like single digits, right? So younger than that. I mean, they were like 6, 7, 5, something like that. And so, yeah, anyway, got to take it to practice. But Eddie Sutton comes out for the guys have already been, working out a little bit. He comes out with his Diet Coke and no comments about what's in the Diet Coke. But, he always had Diet Coke in his hand, right? And he'd go through a couple of them during the game. Anyway, he comes by me, he goes, Mr. Swain, he said, heard Coach Knight was on your show the other night. How'd that go? And I said, I was really nervous because I've seen what he's done with other people interviewing him over the years. And I said, but he was very charming. He kind of stopped, peered up at me, rolled his eyes, and goes, hey. I thought that was hilarious. If you've ever read the book, it's either Soul Influence or Season on the Brink. They have, when Eddie was at Kentucky and Bob was in Indiana, the Hoosiers played at Rep Arena. And it came down to an official's call, and Bob didn't like the call. Walking by each other while one was getting done with his press conference and the other was heading in to do the press conference. Bob, a lot of you know this, so I'm repeating it, but for those of you who don't, it's like, Eddie, I told you to get neutral officials for this one. He goes, oh, I'm sorry, Bob. I don't remember that conversation, and he goes, well, I do. And walked off and said Eddie kind of did the little blow him off sign, like hell with you. And he said if Bob Knight would have seen him, they would have probably been throwing down. But I saw him a number of times in Stillwater after he got his butt kicked, and he wasn't happy about it. But him and Eddie were fine. But I think he actually learned to really appreciate Eddie and the job he did, and obviously who could not. But I don't care how much you hate Bobby Knight if you do. The guy can flat out no doubt. Never, not once, never a hint of scandal. Now, you name too many guys. Listen, I can tell you, Duke, hey, Duke fans, live it, learn it, love it. With Krzyzewski, cheated their butts off. Mike turned the other way, just said, go get him. I don't care what it takes. Same with John Wooden. If you tell me John Wooden didn't know the, what's the game, Sam, the auto dealer in LA, who was a huge donor, bought every great player they had. Look it up. Just look up UCLA big booster Sam. I can't remember his last name. I mean, they cheated like you couldn't cheat anymore, right? Speaking of cheating, OU fans, I got a text a little bit ago from a friend. Go, you know you cheated. Well, she didn't cheat. Might have missed a call. If indeed he did, I think it's debatable. And if I will admit this, if Stoops did step out of bounds, which he did, we've got the picture. You know, you can say he was pulled out, dragged out, whatever, maybe. But once again, we know if the official doesn't call, it's not a foul. He should have taken off his hat, thrown it down, which says the player stepped out of bounds. That, I mean, it would have been a controversial call, obviously, but that would have solved part of it. The Big 12, I guess, has come out. Somebody told me yesterday that the Big 12 had a statement on it, but I don't think they have. And I've got Jason Watkins, who we've had on the show before, great guy. He just reached for the wrong team. I love Jason. I said, Jason, I love you even when I hate you. We're not going to agree on a lot of stuff when it comes to OU and OSU. We agree on most other things. But Jason said that, and his cohort, the coach, I can't remember the coach's name, my apologies, watched him the other night and was like, well, you got cheated. And basically they keep saying that the Big 12 admitted early on, we're going to cheat you if we can. I don't recall seeing that statement anywhere. Do you? Somebody please show it to me, because Jason hadn't yet. Jason, you got it, and you show it to me, and it's what you say it is. I'll believe it, but right now, no, because I first of all, I can't see anybody ever admitting that, even if it's true. It may be true. What do you expect? I mean, you guys screwed the conference. It ended up being a good thing. Worst things that ever happened to you. Like, I'll give you an example. I've been doing this for a long time, right? But 36 years ago, I almost died. I was working for the State Department of, now they call it Career Tech, but it used to be called VOTech. It's how we moved back to Stillwater from the Enid area. And I just got married. Sean, our first child, was, not even, I don't know, he's barely walking, right? So he was less than a year old. And we were, I can't remember exactly. Well, I started my business part-time. I had been for a couple of years. We were already doing some radio. We were doing the tournaments and the recruiting events, exposure events with the college coaches who take our service, having a great time. But I was doing both of them, burning the candles at both ends. I got pneumonia, kept working, man. I was going like 20 hours a day, and ended up getting so sick one morning, took a shower, was having a hard time breathing. And Paula, my wife, goes, honey, are you all right? Well, I don't know. I can barely remember that, by the way. She takes me to the walk-in clinic. They're like, no, this boy's going to the emergency room. His oxygen level is way down. At first, they thought I had a blood clot because I had passed out the day before. And when I fell, I guess I hit my butt on the floor and got this big bruise. So they thought I had a blood clot, and ended up being, really bad pneumonia. I was in intensive care with tubes down my throat, the whole thing. That was 35 years ago. That's when, they said, hey, you need to take a break. You need to, for a while, stay home, recover. We'll go from there. And that's when I started the business full time and so sometimes my point was, that's a long story in it, sometimes the worst things that ever happened to you end up being great, because I'm not sure if I would have ever had the guts to drop, I'm sole breadwinner at that time. My wife was staying home with, then we had two sons. Kel came along in early 2003. But the other two boys were like almost 33 and 30. So they were little, and Paula was staying home with us. So she was a housewife. And we decided, when we got married, that we would rather one of us stay at home with the kids and raise them, and instead of letting somebody else raise them. And not everybody can do that. But so I had a pretty nice professional job, had a master's degree, so I'm making decent money. And it was just really, I was doing this basketball thing part-time, and I loved it. But I'm like, I can't just drop a full-time salary and all the benefits to take this leap of faith and turn this thing full-time. But we ended up doing it because of me getting sick and didn't have much of a choice. So then I've been doing it ever since. So, it's, I wouldn't want to go through it again, but it ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me professionally and for my happiness. And we make quite a bit more money than we did, back then when you just had the paycheck. So anyway, the other thing, Harbaugh, got a text, the guy wanting to know if Harbaugh will get an injunction. Oh, I'm sure he will. It's not like Michigan doesn't have lawyers. Pretty smart school, right? So I'm sure he will. Got another text on the Wendy's text line. Okay. Yeah. Do we need to fire Mike if he loses Sunday? Not Mike Gundy. He's talking about Mike Boynton. They're not going to fire him right away. Maybe go to an interim coach or something like that because the talent's there. He recruits very well. If there was some way you could keep him on as a recruiting coach, he'd be one of the best ones out there. That's probably, he's going to be that somewhere someday, if not a head coach again. But I would go make Keaton Page our coach in waiting, but that's just me. Some people think he's not ready yet because he hadn't coached anywhere else. Dude, this guy is a born coach. His dad's a coach. His grandpa's a coach. His brother's a coach. He's done nothing but being a coach. The other guy who's an OSU guy that might want to be considered because he's applied the last 3 times is Doug Gottlieb. Doug, by the way, I've seen him coach. My sons have seen him coach, and they're pretty good judges after being around basketball their life. I think Doug could get it done. He would hire one guy I know he would hire is Brian Montanati, who's the coach at Owasso, and his son happens to be one of the top sophomores in the entire United States. So we'll be talking about that more. If they lose on Sunday, I can assure you on Monday we'll be talking about replacements because there's no way you can lose 2 in a row to low majors. And they very well could lose on Sunday, not because they're not playing very well, but because Sam Houston State isn't bad. They're probably up there at least with Abilene Christian. So I want to let you know about our sponsors one more time. Of course, Ray of Sunshine, Helping Hands, Mark and Cindy Welch, our good friends. Scott Hammer Cruise Planners, take care of all your vacation and or cruise plans. Karen Johnson at Insignia, they do the hats, the shirts, the uniforms. They do everything, all kinds of gear, and you can get it all through Greg's Gear. Get hold of Karen Johnson. Facebook, YouTube, we've got her phone number, her email address, all that if you're on Facebook or Twitter, and most of you are. That's going to do it, folks. Hey, we'll talk to you tomorrow. We'll talk about upcoming games as well for the weekend. Have a great afternoon, everyone.